Hey,
Nice.
brother,
What's going on, bro?
man,
What's
you know what? You are hosting, co-hosting Meet Me for Coffee, the first episode.
Meet me for coffee? Okay, I like
Meet Me
that
for
title.
Coffee. It used to be years ago uh, that we would every morning for about an hour I would
Hmm.
meet with a bunch of brothers at Starbucks when I lived in Laurel.
Okay.
And we had said that this is something, we've done this for years. It's something we're going to continue. We kept meeting people, in and out, talking about, all kinds of stuff. And when I moved out uh, in Anne Arundel, there wasn't anything I could get comparable to that
Okay.
atmosphere.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It just put on my heart to meet me for coffee was a way to get that feeling back. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yep.
We
Yep. Yep.
we meet for about an hour every day, every weekday, pretty much on Saturdays, and just talk. It was just fun time. It was fun time. I met so many people. It was crazy.
I like that, man. I like that. That's what I one of the things I had wanted to talk to you about was that definitely I wanted to um, begin to do that same thing and just be around people like you, that we could just chop it up, talk it up, and like just life, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
not that religious stuff like, oh, bro, like, okay, let's just talk naturally, and we're gonna give God glory, but like every other word ain't gotta be like hallelujah, and you know what I mean? Like, bro, I know you don't talk like that at work, so come on.
Right, 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 right. But yeah, it's gonna be some of that. It's gonna be. I mean, because we talk about that stuff though, right? We
Yeah,
talk about it,
yeah,
but we talk about all kinds of stuff. So uh,
every.
one of the things I wanted to hear you talk about your your gift that you got yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I know
In
that
my
was that.
in my battle.
Yeah, yeah. I know that was part of your waiting,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I know you just like, I'm gonna hold on, I'm gonna hold on,
Because you
and
got questions, right?
and it worked out, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was definitely a blessing because since my layoff and I hit January 31st. I don't know if you want dates or not, but okay, let me go
You can
back.
do whatever you want. We just talking.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so I hit my 6 month layoff anniversary basically, at the end of January. And so as I was going through those 6 months, like God was just like working on me and working on me and working on me. And what I started to do was like really having these like heart to heart talks with God. I'm just like, Lord, like if you don't want me to do real estate, like just let me know. And sure enough, sometime whenever I like that same day, he would like send people in real estate my way, and we would have like either like they would share good news or some type of information that would help me, and I just took that as a sign.
Hmm.
So um, this week I had another one of those conversations, right? I think like actually the end of last week I had one of those conversations. And on that Friday, the past Friday, two people said that they were gonna pay me for services rendered in the real estate industry. And what happened was on Monday, man, my flesh was like, "Where the money at, yo? Like, where's my money?" And so all of my flesh was like, just woo 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 woo.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
said, you know what? I said, Lord, I'm a fast. I was like, that's the only thing I know to do. I'm a fast because I feel like I want to reach out to these people and be like, where's my money? Blah 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 blah. I talked to my wife and she was like, yeah, I know how you feel, but like God is like trying to teach us patience, wait on Him,
Hmm.
trust in Him. And she was like, you're doing the right thing. So I just fasted that whole day, man, and like, and of course, like the last 30 minutes my flesh was like It was like bubbles, bro. I was just like, I got to do something. I was just like, no, 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 and I had to take my mind off of it. But what I was doing was I was just like remembering scripture,
Mhm.
and one of the scriptures I told you was like, may the Lord richly bless you and your children, right? That was like one of them. And I was just like, I'm holding on to that. You know what I mean? And there were some other scriptures that came to mind that I was just holding on to. And sure enough, on Monday night, up until 1:29 in the morning, one of the guys was texting me saying like he was having a problem. He's like, like, is it your end? Is it my end? Like we were going back and forth texting, and I'm up
Mhm.
watching Sports Center at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I went to sleep, woke up, checked my phone, and there was a deposit in my bank account.
Mm.
But it came from the other person that
But you,
I didn't even
wow,
speak to.
wow.
So
Okay.
I told my wife, I said, babe, ain't that like God? I was like, out of nowhere, miraculously, the other person's deposit just bloop.
Mm.
I think it was like 5:31 in the morning it came through.
Wow.
And I didn't see
Wow.
it until I got up. But
Okay.
when I saw it, I was just like, ain't that like God? I was like, wow. Just like so
Unexpected. Unexpected.
unexpected. I'm thinking it's gonna be this other dude
Man,
that was texting me and nothing. And I was just so thankful, bro. So thankful. And but
uh,
I learned a lot going through
what
that
you
process.
like? What you learn?
I learned that the Holy Spirit is my helper,
Mm.
right? So I'm like, I wanted to do it in my own strength. I wanted to like fix it. You know what I mean? You know how men do. We want to
Yes.
fix
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
And I had to resist that urge, right?
Mm.
And funny enough, a verse that I went over today, it said, resist the devil, he will flee from you.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's basically what I did. But I had to go through that, right? And then another verse I just heard this morning in Job, it says that God teaches us through adversity. And I was like, wow, that's in the Bible. I was like, who knew? You know what I mean? Like we
Right.
always
Right. Right.
we,
It's.
we pick
I,
and choose.
yeah. Yeah. I think that stuff is amazing sometimes when especially now that I'm older and more mature. I would like to think in the Word that now when I read certain things, it pops differently than what
Yeah,
it did. Because like resist the devil and he would flee was just a saying.
right,
You know what I mean? You hear it all the time, but you don't really take it literally. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
It's stuff like that that
Mhm.
comes to me mind now when I read this stuff and applying it to real life. You
Mm,
know,
yep.
just like you were just mentioning your wife. I mean, you talked about your wife, but you
Hmm.
said your Holy Spirit is your helper.
Hmm.
You know, in the Bible, God uses that a lot of times. It says He's a helper. He's named helper, right?
Hmm.
And so, but He sent us a wife as a helper as
Hmm.
well, right?
Hmm.
And we resist that a lot of times because it goes against our flesh.
Yeah.
It goes against our pride, all the stuff that's in us, selfishness and
Hmm.
arrogance and all that, right? The
Hmm.
stuff that we are supposed to be uh, uh, cured of, so to speak. Once we born again,
Right.
it's supposed to be taken away from us,
But it's not.
and it's not. It's not. But going back to your resist the devil,
Hmm.
that's the devil keeping that
Yeah.
stuff on us, right?
Yeah.
And so resist that. We got to resist that and
Hmm.
use the tools that he's given us.
Yeah.
Man, I mean that's
Yeah.
we could be so much farther along
Yeah.
had I understood this stuff early in my life.
Hey, but God's timing is always perfect, right? So, you know,
I know. I
I,
know.
I, I wish the same thing, but I'm like,
I mean, I probably wouldn't have appreciated it like I do now.
no, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This whole, I mean, going into business for yourself, whether it be real estate, a retail store, whatever,
Hmm.
it's, on paper and in our mind, it's, I got this. There's no gonna,
Hmm.
I see all these people who are making all this money,
Hmm.
and I never hear about the struggle, but
Yeah.
you have to go through the struggle to get to where they are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because they're at a point now, a lot of times they can't remember the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they don't think about it in the same way.
Right.
But this is it's usually it's very success is fleeting when it comes
Mm-hmm.
too fast.
Yeah.
You know, because you think it's going to happen. It's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through struggle, you know that nothing is given to you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like that. It's work, it's diligence, and that's part of what. And, you know, and here's the thing. Uh, and when I had this idea, you know, with you, because I know this came to me, right? I was reading the Word, right, and I was reading Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
and I go, you know what? When he talks about the curse on
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Eve,
Mm-hmm.
that was because of sin. He didn't intend for that to be that way.
Right.
He intended for work not to be hard
Mm-hmm.
for us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
But because of the fall, he says it in the Word that now you're gonna struggle pretty much
Mm-hmm.
in the dirt
Mm-hmm.
to get your you know daily
Your
bread.
food. Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so and so my interpretation came by, whoa. So if we start living our lives the way God intended us to live our lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? And free ourselves from this heavy burden that's on us of sin,
Mm-hmm.
that's, you know, all the things that create that,
Mm-hmm.
then our life's work would be easy because we'd be doing things for him,
It'd be
right?
way different. Right.
Way different, way
Way.
different, right? So I'm going, wow, man, I gotta Trevor and I know Trevor got something for me on this one because I had never seen it like that. I know Trevor's got something. I got to talk to him about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about it, I got to tape it because I want to keep this.
Well, you know how we have our talks and stuff, right? So for me, right, because I didn't grow up in the church, so it was when I did join the church, it was all about salvation,
Hmm.
and that was like the main focus. That was the end all be all, going to heaven,
Hmm.
and something just never sat right with me about that, and I'm like, man, all these people, all they want to do is go to heaven, but it's like we living here on earth and we're seeing devastation.
Right.
We're seeing all of the problems. We're seeing opportunities, but can't take
Hmm.
advantage of it because we
Hmm.
don't have the relationships or the knowledge or whatever the case may be. So for me, just like, like how you were saying about the garden, it was like, I want to enjoy God here on earth,
Hmm.
right? And I want to help other people enjoy God while we're here on earth.
Hmm.
So I'm like, listen, there's got to be more to it than just salvation. So I love it that my pastor, he talks about human flourishing, which was the intent for God and the original intent, right? And God is going to get what he intended from the beginning
Right.
before the curse.
Right.
So I was like drawn to that because I'm like, in every aspect of my life, I want to be excellent,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So I don't want to be working hard, and I've done that because that's our parents' generation, and then our grandparents' generation. They had to be hard. They had to work hard, right? And I'm like, I'm not trying to work hard for the rest of my life and then like just go to heaven.
Hmm.
I want to be able to like, hmm, Jesus says that you'll be able to do greater things than he did. So I'm like, okay, I want to test that. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I want to put
Right.
that to the test. So, but yeah, definitely we need to have a daily walk. We need to have a daily infusion of the spirit and of God's power, so that that faith and that those good works can be demonstrated.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Outwardly, and not just being like, "Hey, I'm saved," but then Monday through Saturday, I'm act like hell, but I'm going to heaven.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no, no, no,
Right.
no, no.
Right.
That's not what he wanted.
It's not. But however, it's really, and I'm going to say this, it's really not our fault that we think that way, that
Yeah.
we thought that way, because you know we were an oppressed people,
Hmm.
and the knowledge we gained was from our oppressor.
Yeah.
So think about freedom from our oppressor was,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be in this fields or whatever.
Hmm.
They're gonna keep me down until I die. So
Hmm.
I know I'll be free and happy in heaven.
Hmm.
So sort of like a different type of theology. And so I grew up in the Baptist church.
Hmm.
My father and family helped build the church.
Hmm.
All of them were in the church, deacons, and whatnot, right? But it was the same. But it was hell. It was like, do good or else you're going to hell.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was that fire and damnation type thing versus living a life of freedom,
Hmm.
living a life of to build a legacy, living
Hmm.
a life for the Lord, right? So it is different. It hit different.
Yeah.
So it's a miseducation that we had growing
Hmm.
up, and we still do in a lot of places because we don't understand
Hmm.
the word, right?
Hmm.
In that way, we're not getting taught the word until you dive in deeper, and that's why I like meeting with other men who are serious about this thing,
Hmm.
right? And understand it because it changes your whole direction. It changes your whole life.
Yep.
So you start thinking about business differently. You start
Hmm.
thinking about your family differently.
Hmm.
So you start thinking about other people differently. And so yeah, I'm went to the Talmud. I guess that's how you pronounce it, right? It's the Jewish
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Bible.
yeah. Hmm.
And I'm reading that. I'm going, wow, wow. They have a whole different. And so when people say, because you hear a lot, black people don't get along together, they can't work
Hmm.
together, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
It's because of you know, the
What we went
oppression,
through. Right.
yeah, what we went through,
Yeah.
right? And so it's hard to break that mold until you understand. We go with, well, Asian people can get along, can work together. Hispanics can do that. The only people can't do that is black people. But
Right.
no one's been oppressed the way we were, right? So even our teachings, our ministers, they would get up and hoop and holler a lot. But
Hmm.
it's like, what did he say? After church, you go, he preached good. He preached, what a sermon. Well, what did he talk about?
Right.
Uh, I don't know what he talked about, but it was a good time. You know what I mean? You,
Entertainment.
yeah, yeah, because if you under you got somebody's foot on your neck all week.
Hmm.
You need some fun. That's basically what it was, right? A lot of
Right.
times,
Right.
and so um, I think that coming to an understanding now, uh, it helps us improve our family.
Hmm.
The information I can give to my boys now,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
and the other thing is appreciating the gifts that my wife brings to the table,
Hmm.
um, instead of fighting against them.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, man, most women. I mean, I'm just talking about our women, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are brilliant.
Yeah.
Whereas I can only do one thing well at a time.
Hmm.
I mean, they can do five, six things, uh, and be proficient, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And society is built for them right now. When
Hmm.
you look at it, and we need to appreciate that. And
Hmm.
so, but you also have to understand that you have to know as a man what a good woman is
Hmm.
and what a good woman is not, right?
Oh, right.
If you look at the world's view of what a good woman is, they don't appreciate the woman that my wife is like that.
Hmm.
They don't celebrate that.
Yeah.
They kind of like, um, they want that, what is it, the 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 princess, or the
Mm.
you
In the
know
castle.
in a castle type of thing. you know Put this woman up on a pedestal. She's a woman on a pedestal, or anything on a pedestal can't help you. It's not a helper,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
It's an idol.
Yep.
So um, we need to learn to appreciate, as men, learn to appreciate a good
Hmm.
woman. And um, I mean, when you talk about Proverbs, the Proverbs, the virtuous woman,
Hmm.
that is, when you read that, you go, wow. I
Hmm.
read that to my wife, and I go, one day, and I go, this woman was a businesswoman, right?
Hmm.
She's out cultivating business. She's sewing for, selling garments, buying stuff.
Hmm.
selling garments, but and then goes out and buys property, real estate
Mhm.
for the
Yep.
family, building a family
And taking care of the family.
and taking care of the family, um, and giving her husband opportunity out in the marketplace, right,
Hmm.
to meet with others and network that way and build on that. They're building together, right? But she's the one that, I mean, she's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, so to speak,
Hmm.
right, with that. And that's fine. That's well. But
Yep.
here they go. Well, if your wife is, if you don't make as much as your wife, or she's making more money than you, you're not a man. That's not biblical.
Right.
That's not biblical. And even the whole point of, uh, when you hear about, you go into Adam and Eve, and it goes, the most a lot of old ministers go, well, your wife, first thing is, the man needs a job. If he ain't working, he ain't no good. He ain't no good. But that's not what the word says. I
Hmm.
understand all of us have to work,
Yeah.
right? But that's the man doesn't necessarily have to be
The
the
breadwinner.
brother breadwinner,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because you're building a family, you're building a legacy, you're building
Hmm.
something to honor God. And even though you are supposed to be leading spiritually in your home,
Hmm.
um, it's not a shame if your wife makes more money than you. It
Nope.
shouldn't be a shame, as long as
Mhm.
you're doing your whatever you're doing
Right.
well,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I think those type of things, those type of uh, attitudes, the things we've come up with, society has taught us.
Hmm.
Society has taught us. That's not
Hmm.
the word that we glean that from. We'll
Well,
take it
there's a
from
lot of unlearning that needs to be done, and and I'm always, I'm very introspective,
there. Hmm.
so I'm always thinking about those things, like, what I know, is it serving me, is it honoring God? You know what I mean? I like,
Hmm.
I think those thoughts, and I'm like, there's a lot of stuff I learned that's not serving me well, right?
Right.
So I need to unlearn those things, and I have to learn from God through His Word and through other people. And so, like, as you were speaking, I was just envisioning, because I'm visual, a glass half filled with water, right? And then the water represents what we've learned, whether it's through religious traditions, or cultural norms, or whatever.
Hmm.
That's what we those are our learnings and our attitudes. And then God is like, okay, pour that out, put the glass back down, and now let me fill you.
Right. Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's what I was saying as you were speaking about that. So it was just like, it's beautiful.
Well, no, that's the going to me now. You just made me hit you something. That's good. That's the baptism. When we're baptized and born
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
all that old stuff is supposed to be poured out of us, and the new
Hmm.
stuff give room for the new stuff to come in.
Hmm.
But however, we don't realize that. We just think it's I'm being dunked under water a lot of times. We
Hmm.
don't realize that the old stuff, because he has to transform our mind. He has to
Hmm.
give us a new way of thinking. If
Hmm.
we're still thinking the same way we thought before we went under the water,
Hmm.
because we're holding on to all that stuff, then we
Hmm.
can't be changed. We can't be transformed, right? So we
Right.
have to let that stuff go. We have to let that
Hmm.
stuff go. And a lot of times, the people that are closest to us to help us let that stuff go.
Don't want to let it go.
We don't want to let it go. And it leads to a lot of dysfunction and problems. So I think that's a good. I like the pouring out of water and pouring. I mean, that's the whole thing. So we're being filled right now. I mean,
Yeah.
every little thing we're being filled back up.
Yeah.
The stuff you learned in the last 6 months, right?
Mm. Yep.
Um,
I wouldn't trade it,
right,
because if I did trade it, I would be back where I started.
right,
And like you said, I would be unchanged.
right.
You know what I mean? But God uses adversity to teach us.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
like, are you listening? And I'm like, I gotta listen, because I don't have no other I have no other avenues, no other places to depend, or people to depend on. It's just like, okay, God, it's just you and me. Let's
Hmm.
go. You know?
Yeah, I mean that adverse. See that there are other places you could go. The thing
Hmm.
is, you know who your father is,
Right.
right? You know who to hold on and what to hold on to,
Hmm.
because there are plenty of people, and that's why that's when success comes really quick
Hmm.
and things change. The wind blows a different direction. uh, people start jumping off roofs and stuff. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Because they
yeah,
can't handle that.
yeah.
They can't handle it because everything's been so easy for them before.
Hmm.
So it's hard for them to cope with what the reality now, and they rather leave this world than to go
To
through any of it.
face, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So, I'm a firm believer that he doesn't put you through anything that you can't bear. So if I'm
right.
going through it, no matter how painful, and I've been through some painful stuff,
Hmm.
no matter how painful, I can get through it with him, right?
Hmm.
Um, that's the only thing that's really kept me here so far, right? And then looking back, I'm just like you. I'm glad I went through that stuff.
Hmm.
I'm glad I'm going through stuff I'm going through now, right?
Hmm.
Because it helps me become more like him,
Yep.
right? And so that's really what it's about, man.
Hmm.
So as we move forward, man, that's always a good reminder. And
Hmm.
that's why I need people like you in my life to always remind me of
Likewise, bro. Likewise.
that. So because
Representing Christ in culture, man. That's what it's
right,
all about. Every
right.
day. Every day.
Because if I didn't have that, man,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
I'd be
like,
trying to escape my 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 life doing other stuff, crazy stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
You know.
like, all the different vices, they start to bubble up and start to have these cravings, and it's just like, nope,
Hmm.
nope, 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 nope. Don't want it. Stay down. Get out of here. It's just like, nope. I'm gonna walk this walk with the Lord. You know what I mean? And just receive from Him.
Hmm.
And it's been a blessing. I went into the 6 months thinking about the wilderness. I went into it thinking that the wilderness was a bad thing. And then I learned that the wilderness is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
learned that Jesus was led into the wilderness by the Holy Spirit,
Right.
right? And the Holy Spirit took care of him, you know what I mean? Once the devil fled from him when he used the word against him, and all his needs were provided for
Right.
40 days and 40 nights. So
Right.
it's
Right. Right.
so I'm like, I have a new perspective. So it's just like I'm gaining all these new perspectives, and it's helping to build me up so that I can in turn share it with you, share it with other people, and just give like short examples about like, hey, this is where I was, this is where I'm at, this is and the way I got there is because of what God is doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean?
And that's the work you're working for him. That's
Yeah,
what he wants. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the thing that we have to remember. We still have to proclaim him because we're working.
Hmm.
That's what he wants for us, and that's how
Hmm.
he's going to reward you on the other side, right?
Hmm.
That's how you come out of that wilderness. When Jesus came out of the wilderness, I mean, it, it was more. He was more powerful than before he went in.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
to people looking at it, to that whole thing, and that's
Hmm.
what. If I'm trying to be like him, then I gotta realize the same type of thing, right?
Hmm.
I can't get, oh, woe is me. Jesus didn't go, oh, woe is me. Oh man, I can't believe this is happening. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't want this to happen. He didn't want none of it. He didn't want it to happen,
Hmm.
but he accepted it
Yeah.
because he knew what his work was to do, right?
Right. Right. So it's okay to verbalize it, but yes, at the same time, okay, say what you got to say, but accept it because
Hmm.
you know that you're in His will.
Right.
And a lot
And
of people don't know that,
don't know
how to
that,
be in His will.
right? And he didn't. And here's the thing: he didn't verbalize it to other folks,
No, no, no,
to the people who he's supposed to be
no.
discipling. He didn't verbalize to them.
Right.
That's
Right.
between him and God. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
To others, he was still
He was
Jesus.
leading
Right.
them, discipling them, right, preparing them, teaching
Preparing
them.
them.
You know what I mean? Like he
Right.
was doing all of that. Yep.
Right. Right. Which is what I mean, man.
We go in like blah 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 blah.
Right.
And my wife had to check me one time. And she was like, "Babe, why are you telling everybody blah 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 blah?" And I had to be like, "Hmm, am I looking for pity? Am I looking for somebody to, save me?" And since she said that, I stopped.
Mm.
I'm just like, okay. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's like that's between me and God.
Because that could be sort of like, you know what? That could be sort of like, when you do good works, you
Hmm.
don't tell everybody I'm doing good works,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
with the
But the
God,
person that received it, they know,
and they can tell if they
and
want
that's
to,
good. Right,
right?
right, right,
But you don't tell everybody. Well, you're not posting on Facebook. Well, I gave,
right,
$200 to food
right.
bank for, that you don't. That's not
No,
that's not what he wants.
no.
He wants, and the world will be a much better place. And people, uh, man, I don't have time. We got
Oh my.
because because it's sort of like, well, what the government shouldn't be doing this. The government shouldn't be doing that.
Mhm,
And I go, they shouldn't. It should be us doing that. We should be caring for the poor. We should be caring for the sick and shut-ins. We should be, uh, that should be our role,
mhm,
right? But we want to, because we don't want to do it.
mhm,
The government is the last resource to do it. So we should be teaching our children. We
mhm.
shouldn't have to rely on the schools to teach our children. But however, because we can't do it all, we say, okay, we'll pay taxes to the school system to teach our kids, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, so all that stuff, but then we go, the government's just using our money with taxing us too much, blah 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 blah. But you
Mhm.
want this, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do the charity work. Churches don't have the funds. Most churches don't have the funds to do outreach,
Right.
community outreach. I mean, some places there's church on every corner,
Mm-hmm.
but
Oh,
they're not doing
I'm from New York, so you.
it. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh
So
my goodness.
most major cities are like that. Churches on every corner, but those corners are
Yeah.
in poverty. Those streets are in poverty, right? So it's because there's no money to do outreach because people aren't tithing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to be a leader, but they don't want to serve, and so
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a big thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the ministry doesn't have to be I'm preaching a sermon on Sunday, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Ministry is every day. It's an everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not you're not seen
That example.
in that way. You don't see, and I can't be seen. I can't be uh, applauded if I'm out doing the busy work of
Mm-hmm.
service. I have to
Mm-hmm.
be seen, not to be up here preaching this holy sermon,
Mm-hmm.
and I need people to appreciate me. But there's no money for outreach.
Mm. Right.
So, but I mean, in a lot of places that's the way it is. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
find it that we have to do more
Mm-hmm.
as men, as
Yeah.
Christ followers, we have to do more.
And I think you got to start. And I think I might have said this before, but you got to start with you first, then your family, then your neighbors, right? Then your community, and,
Hmm.
and then beyond.
Right.
But like if you think of it in the reverse, it's gonna overwhelm you,
Right.
right? And then you're gonna feel like, oh, my contribution is not significant. But like the story of the little kid walking on the beach and there's all of the starfish, and it was like, he's one by one throwing them back into the water, and then somebody ridicules him. You know what I mean? But he's like, I made a difference to that one.
Right. Right.
You just start where you at, right
Right.
there. And then hopefully maybe some other people will join you, and then they can throw in one. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then that's how you get to put them all back in the water
Right.
because you
Right.
got help.
Right. Appreciate you, brother. That's profound right there.
Well, I do what I do, like Joe said. Yes, sir. It's good
Ah,
times. Always good times, man.
yes,
Talking
sir.
to you,
Yes.
bro.
Yes, sir.
Always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, look, man, I'm gonna let you go.
Yes, sir.
This is our first one,
Hmm.
one of many more. So,
Yes, sir. Looking forward to
got
it.
it. I hope everything got recorded.
Yeah. If not,
If
we'll do
not,
it again.
we'll do it again.
Do it
So,
again. Love you, bro.
love you too, bro. Thank you,
Yes.
man. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
later.
God
Peace.
bless. Peace.